Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of Garage Studio Modelers. I'm Dave Forrest and I'm here with my good friend
Harvey Lowe.
And in today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about the next modeling project. So here we have the Stug, which is we just finished off in the last episode. We'll get some close-up pics of this so that everybody can see the entire model. I added a few things since we last saw each other, just like the machine gun and whatnot, but you'll get close-ups of that. Robert will take care of that for us. And then going on to the Tiger, so oddly enough, I have maybe 25 Tiger kits in my vast collection. A lot of them are right here. I've never built a Tiger before.
And now you have.
It's my first Tiger. My first Tiger.
But you've cobbled this together from various
Yes, this
kits,
is the old Tamiya kit.
Oh.
Not the old Tamiya kit, but the one that was released in the late 80s, 89.
Is that the one with the Autocarius version?
Yes.
Yeah,
it kind of came out around that time. So they started off with an early, and then they went to a mid and a late. So this is the early Tiger, and it has a ton of aftermarket on it. And that's the nice thing about the old Tamiya kits is that you can find, like in my own collection, I had stuff in my collection that I forgot I had. So as I was rummaging through everything, I found an old Edward set, I found an old Edward barrel.
Let's be blunt. What you do is you buy stuff for a Tiger and you put it in your Panther kit or your Chiha kit. And like what I do is I put the aftermarket parts with the kit.
Well, when you're at a show, when you grab stuff and you're throwing stuff in there, you kind of, maybe you forget.
But it's a nice cereal box surprise.
It is. It's like Christmas morning every time. So anyway, so a ton of, and not only did I use aftermarket, but I also did some kit bashing, where I took some, like all of the Feifel air filter stuff is from Ryfield models.
Oh, nice.
Right, because there just wasn't enough detail on the Tamiya one's a little bit rough and a little bit inaccurate.
So that's your work in progress.
So that's my work in progress. So you can see it here. It's modulated. It's going to be a Kursk Totenkopf Tiger. I just got to put some green modeling on it, or green camo on it, and then it'll be ready for decals and decals and
nice
weathering and whatnot.
Nice.
But for today, we're going to focus on road wheels, and specifically, and I think that the Tiger is a great subject to do road wheels because they're a little bit larger. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
There's like 48 of them altogether, and it's a good. There's a lot of real estate to work with, so it's a little bit easier than doing even the road wheels for the Panzer III chassis. So that's where.
No, this is the first time where I see that you've weathered the wheels off the model. You usually put them on the model, don't you?
Depends. Yeah. So in this case, it's the running gear is fairly easy to get at.
Okay.
And I'm using Fruel tracks. I have those off, so it just makes sense. And I'll do the same thing. I'll weather the vehicle itself with everything off of it, and I'll show some shortcuts that I take.
Okay.
But that'll still shortcuts that won't hurt you at a show type of thing if you're serious about entering and whatnot. That the judges aren't going to try and catch you on something. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But
that's great.
Yeah, just a ton of a lot of 3D stuff, like a lot of 3D clamps, and because of that, I took the opportunity to leave some of the tools off the kit.
Yeah, because you got to get at the details.
Yeah, so you can see the
handles,
clamps, and all that and whatnot. I'll do something a little bit different with there's a track tow cable on the side there. In another episode, I'll show you what I kind of a neat little trick I saw in a magazine somewhere that I want to replicate on this. But yeah, fun project.
Talk about that. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, fun little project.
Maybe I can take this opportunity to take a shout out to Chris, who I met at Wheels and Wings Hobbies yesterday when we had Noah from Scale Aircraft in Japan come over and talk about Chris Sieber's wonderful Tomcat book. And so, I'm giving a shout out, but at the same time, we had a couple of people come in and say, "Oh, you guys are still doing the video, we miss it." So I gotta say that Dave and I do this on our own time, right?
Yes.
And I wish we did it a little more, but so my apologies, we can't be there every week, but we do what we can.
Yeah,
right?
and we're kind of at the end of summer, and summer, well, for me anyways, a little bit of vacation got in the way, and other stuff and whatnot, and in between projects. But I think now that I think we'll get back to more of a regular,
a
little bit more
do
of a
our
regular.
best.
But yeah, to Harvey's point, we do. I mean, kind of do the Sunday mornings in our own time. Robert volunteers.
We're all volunteering.
We have the easy part in front of the camera. Robert has the difficult part.
He is the big.
Cut everything and put everything together and load it up to YouTube and all that. So
Robert's the glue, and he doesn't.
Thank you.
Yeah, there he is. But he never shows his face in front of the camera.
He's very modest.
Yeah. No, and my time is I'm a lot on Facebook, some on Instagram. You guys know where to find me. So I just provide my time here because I think it's fun. So we'll try to get back on a regular schedule.
Yeah.
We never. You ever notice that we never hit the like button, do what other people do? If you like us, do it. But we're not always going to keep saying that every video. If you like us, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, we're not. We're not monetizing this.
We're not monetizing it. We're not constantly.
We like doing it. We enjoy doing it, and we love getting the thing that I think we love the most is getting the positive feedback.
That's all. So that's all we want it for.
That keeps us going. We enjoy that. That's more than enough.
So I just needed to put that out there, and so we're here, and we'll keep going when we can.
Great. So we'll get So we'll just we'll switch the cameras and we'll get into the details. Okay, so we're going to start with the first thing. So we'll work this kind of up in progression of layers, and I'll try and see if I can. I need my eyes for this. So this is a finished road wheel. I don't know how well you can see.
Perfect.
This. Is that good?
Yeah.
And so you can see there's, we're going to do a bunch of things. So we're going to start off with putting some acrylic mud on there. Then we're going to do a little bit of blending with some buff, just airbrush some buff. And then we'll do some washes and then some speckling. And then we'll take, because of the road wheels have this metal rim. That rim would wear down, and you would get bare metal that would show through in a lot of cases. So we'll show you how we do that. So this is a finished road wheel here. So this is one, and this is the I believe this is an outer surface. So this is a surface that you'll see. Behind it is a surface that you're not going to see. So you need to give those surfaces some attention because it depends what you're doing. If you're entering it into a show. Especially if you're doing an amps thing, they'll look at consistency of weathering. So you want to make sure you get at least something on the inside, but you don't want to spend a lot of time on it because nobody's really going to see it, right? You're going to see it from a bit of a distance or from underneath the vehicle or whatnot. So there just has to be the illusion of something. So you do need to pay some attention to it. So I'll kind of show you what I do there, but it's very, very simple. So we'll use using my favorite. Mud product right now, which is AK's Dark Earth. This is the diorama paste. And I used Robert's trick of using the saran wrap to put over it to keep it fresh, and it really works. Like it doesn't, this used to dry out regularly on me. I'd have to rehydrate it with water, but that's fantastic.
That's a great idea.
Great tip, Robert. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And what I do is so firstly, when I use my water, I put a little bit of dish soap in it to help break. And you just need a drop to help break the surface tension. And I just kind of mix that in there with a brush. So that's all you need is just a drop of water. And then I'll wet the surface just a bit. And then we go in with the mud. So you'll pick some up with your brush. And what I do is I'll either it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen another. But let's say on this one, I'll start from the center. So I'll put the mud in the center. And just make sure you get good coverage. Now this is a water-soluble product, obviously. And then what I do is that I'll kind of unload the brush. And then what I'll do is I'll just start blending it out while it's still wet. Now this stuff dries relatively quick, especially if you're used to working with enamels and oils. This stuff dries relatively quick, so you're going to move fairly quickly.
Now once it's set though, can you correct it or it's done?
No, it's done. Yeah, there's no going back once it dries. And I just work it, it's almost like you're using, like you're kind of mimicking what centripetal force would do. Where you create some nice streaking.
You know what I've tried and seems to work. If you get the right consistency of whatever weathering agent you're using, like perhaps you apply a light wash and let it puddle in the middle, and I actually Post-it on my little Dremel and I spin it at a slow speed, and it mimics the
very good.
wheels. Yeah, but it takes a bit of practice to get it right. But that's another option.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. So you can see just very quickly, you get a nice mud effect. You get a good base, and it looks almost, some of you might look at this and say, well, that's kind of good enough. But again, it's all about layering. And then, so what I'll do is I'll pick another piece. So this is the back end of it. So this is something that's going to be up against the hull. You're not going to see a whole lot of, but just for the sake of consistency, I just dab some mud on there and do the same thing. Blend it out, just so that it's not the base color. And that's it.
Are you only using that one AK, whatever you call it? What's that? Dark
earth. Yeah.
Dark earth.
Yeah.
Are you going to use any other AK colors in that range, or is that it?
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And really, you just need it for the texture. I mean, it helps that it's darker.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I like this, because I like the color of it.
Yeah.
More than anything. Yeah. But it's more for the tech. In this case, it has dual roles. It's for the texture, and it works the color too. So you kind of kill two birds with one stone. I have to say though, when I'm painting, so you saw the tiger, which is here, which is fully modulated. So it's modulated in its base, Dunkelgelb color. So it's got 4 colors on it. So it's got a shadow, a base, and then 2 highlight colors. On the wheels, I just do 2 or 3 colors. Like, I'll never use the second highlight, because you lose it anyways under the weathering. Right. So I just give it, and you can. This is kind of, there's no mud on this, and I just put a little bit of a cloud pattern on it just to kind of give it some variation, some tonal variation. So that's really it. So while that one's drying, let's go ahead and do this one. So we'll go and grab some more mud. I'll do this from the outside. I'll do it from outside in, and you don't need a lot. Like, this thing will last me until retirement.
Especially with this Saran wrap over it.
Yeah, exactly. And you can vary the amount of mud, obviously. Not everything would get the exact same amount of mud. So here, I'm working in. So in the last wheel, I was working out from the center, from the hub. Now I'm just working in, and but it's the same principle. You're just kind of rotating the wheel in your hand. And the other thing too is I don't mask the wheels. Like, when I'm painting them, I don't mask the rims.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
I actually tried that, Dave, on one of my recent projects, the Simavante. Yeah, and you're right. You don't have to go to all that attention.
No, not if you're putting. I mean, if you're doing a very clean, maybe you do.
Yeah, but I find that once I apply a pin wash, the pin wash almost defines the edge for me, rather than working with a mask.
Yeah.
Not to say that the companies that make masks are no good, but it depends what you want. But you can't. You're right. You can do it without it.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, and it's tedious. Like road wheels are tedious enough. Like, to mask them on top of everything.
What's the worst? Panzer IVs.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Tigers are much better. There's so many road wheels. I forgot how many road wheels there are on a Tiger. I wonder I haven't built any of them. So this one's got a slightly thicker application of mud, but that's okay. These things are going to vary. Let's grab another one out of the pile here. So let's take this. So this one will go back, and let's do it from the center again, and we'll do a lighter application. How's it looking, Robert?
Very good.
So make sure everybody can see what I'm doing here. Again, you're just pulling it to the outskirts, or the other edge of the wheel. Put a little bit more on there. And then while it's still wet, you can always go, like, if you want to, like, I might say, hey, this is a bit much. This is more than I was hoping for. Just take some off.
How long would it take you with this process to do all of these wheels, let's say in cumulative hours?
Good question. Probably, well, the ones I did within the space of an hour and a bit. So maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours.
Okay. The reason I ask is a lot of guys, there's so much bench time that they have, and man, how can you produce models so quickly, that kind of thing. And so, you build to your own speed, but at the same time, you don't want to be so slow as then to start. You ever start something, you kind of lose interest because it's taken so long. So my advice is just do it. Just make it organic and just
and this type of thing is mindless. So like I'll have the TV on.
Yeah.
We're watching the, Blue Jays or Habs.
You mean lose? Well, they won last night, I think.
Yeah, just when you think they're out.
Yeah, then they win.
They win. They're back in.
So I guess you guys on the channel know that we're from Toronto. So.
But I'll have something on, or YouTube.
Yeah.
Like I know you watch a lot of YouTube.
No, I do.
YouTube's great. There's just so much on there to watch. Now let's do the drive sprocket. So this will require a little bit more attention because you would get a lot of mud that would just kind of build up in the middle. So I'll do a fairly heavy application.
Now I seem to recall when I did my Autocarius, I did it in 72nd. I seem to recall that the crew had removed the front outer wheel, right?
Yeah.
Prevent mud buildup.
Yes.
So do your research, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and with Tigers especially, like it was only 1,300 and change that were built, ever built.
Uh-huh.
So there's so if you're doing a specific Tiger,
right?
And again, it depends what your motivation is. But I have pictures of this specific vehicle.
Right, there you go.
And it shows there's damage to the front fender, and it shows damage to the front fender. It shows like the shovel, instead of being face down, is face up. And that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Right, is kind of doing the research on the vehicle.
So going back on, you remember the past episodes on my Sheridan where I mentioned that one of the tracks on the other side was in reverse. It's in a photo. So, and I think if you want to enter models like that, I strongly urge that you take that photo and you put it on the table with your notes.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, they'll say, well, the guy put it on wrong, and then you get dinged, and
Yeah.
Just do your research and make sure that if you are competing, we're not saying that you must, make sure that you have that documentation.
Yeah, agreed. And it's funny, I did like that Mark 1 Spitfire.
Yeah.
And the fin flash was in the wrong order of colors.
Right.
Like instead of red, white, blue, it was blue, and it was because the crew, when they did it, they mistakenly. But there's documented evidence.
Yes.
So I mentioned that, if somebody were to pick up on that, and the aircraft judges are fairly eagle-eyed on that type of thing.
They can be. Yeah.
So you just want to get some good coverage. And I might go back in here with some thicker mud, because you would get a bunch of buildup.
Yeah, I've noticed that you really have picked up on that acrylic AK paste. I've noticed. I still need to get more into that product.
Yeah, watching Martin Kovacs do it on Night Shift.
See, I'm a bit old school, and I mix some of my paints with plaster of Paris still, to get that texture. I'm thinking, wait a minute, I can buy the stuff now.
Well, that's a great point, because let's face it, today's weathering like you could do, like people were doing this stuff back in the late 70s and 80s, 90s, before all this stuff really came out. But you can still, this is all convenience.
It is. We were talking yesterday at the Wheels and Wings event for Chris's book. We were talking about weathering, and there's a thing that I often mention, that weathering seems to be second nature to, in particular, and this is controversial, to armor guys. They get it, they know it, but I think sometimes with the aircraft guys, they'll Some like dirty aircraft, some don't. And I think a lot of it behind the scenes could also be, think of it, walking in, the intimidation factor when you look at all these mud products out there, all these weathering products. Where do I start, right? And it's basically rolling up your sleeves and going in there and just using all these products, right? And if people are not comfortable with a product,
but you start by doing.
you have to, and you need to begin thinking about how you want to replicate the reality of a vehicle. If it's dirty, weather it. If it's not, don't. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? I don't think it's a matter of it's too dirty or it's too clean. Just make it clean if it was a clean aircraft. Like I'll use an example, A6M2s at Pearl Harbor, they're pretty clean. But A6M3s on the islands of the Pacific or Cactus Air Force, they were pretty dirty. So I don't think there's anything, well, we got to be subtle with, aircraft. Well, it depends on the operational situation. Yeah. Pretty simple.
Well, I think for every, and you're right, I think photographic evidence is the best guide on that. That's the best. And I think for every picture of a very clean aircraft, you can find a picture of a very dirty one.
Yeah, I was at CFB Trenton, Canadian Forces Base Trenton, and was on the tarmac looking at a F-18, and it was dirty. You should go right up to it, and it's in service, and it was dirty. You could see oil everywhere, splatters everywhere. Yeah. From far away, it looks clean, but when you're standing 6 feet away, it's dirty. You could see it.
So you can see it. So I finished the drive sprocket. So I went fairly, just like I did on this, I went fairly heavy on the mud on the kind of the middle of the interior of it, and then kind of worked it off the main hub. I forgot to do the back, so I want to make sure you pay attention to the back. But again, it's just, you get very comfortable doing this, and to your point, Harvey, it's just start by starting.
Yeah.
Like there's like I think I mentioned this on a previous thing. It's
practice.
Yeah, it takes 100 hours to get good at something. It takes 2,000 hours to become to master it.
Well, yeah, I'm doing figures now, and I'm taking my time because figures. Although I started in figures,
you're brave.
I gotta do figures. I got to take time to hone it. I'm comfortable with every other subject. The only two I think I need to work on are gloss finishes on cars and figures. Those are my last two frontiers. So
both very daunting.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. Unfortunately, we should do more car models. I get it, but since I'm still working on my techniques for gloss finishes, there's a bunch of other models that are way better than me on that. So once I hone it, we'll do some cars.
Yeah, it's cars. Cars are a different animal altogether. So that's it. So we've done a few of the road wheels. So I've got some other ones that I did yesterday that have the mud on it. So what I'm going to do now is we'll get the airbrush set up, and I'm just going to spray a little bit of buff. Yeah. And the reason for that is really kind of twofold. So one, and I've mentioned this before, is this product, as great as it is, the texture bits are these little crystal things that they put in there, and every now and again it catches light and it kind of sparkles. So the buff will mat that down, and it also does a nice job of blending it in.
So why are you? Well, we'll get into it later, but why wouldn't you just use a clear coat? Or do you prefer buff to get a little bit more?
Well, because in this particular situation, the mud is a little bit drier because of the condition of the Kursk at the time. So the buff serves two purposes. It flattens it out, and it also lightens
it up. Because I can see right now, I can see your model nearer to me off camera in the wheels. There's definitely a patina to those wheels that does not exist on your hull right now. Mm-hmm. You can see it.
Yeah.
It's a nice patina.
Yeah, and you would have different. I think a model that has different sheens to it.
Yeah.
Like even an aircraft model, like the weathered aircraft model, has different sheens to it. I think that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's part of the right.
You hit it on the nail. A lot of modelers think, well, that's a gloss spot, but you can use that to your advantage. And I'm thinking fuel stains, gasoline
or panel
stains.
by panel even.
Yeah. So use gloss and matte to your advantage.
Yeah, I think that's another layer, right? Of kind of getting that modulation or differentiation. So, okay, so let me we'll cut for a bit, and we'll get right back on with the airbrush. Okay, so I've got my airbrush loaded with some Tamiya Buff. So I'm using the acrylic line. Normally I love the lacquer paints, but because the acrylic's fine here, and I don't want to spray in a. I don't have my booth or mask. I don't want to kill Harvey and Robert here. So we're just using, and I just use some X20 thinner, X28 thinner for this, and it's a pretty thin mix. It's probably 70% thinner, 30% paint, I would say. And what I do is I just kind of, sorry, let me see, make sure, can you see this okay, Robert?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
So I'm just kind of very lightly, just kind of drying things out, and that's all you need.
Are you doing the black rim, the rubber rim too?
Yeah. I don't spray it, but if it gets a little bit of overspray, well, that's okay.
Oh, so you're not covering the whole thing?
No, just the yeah.
Got it.
Right, and then I'll do the back as well, just so that things are consistent. So here's one that this is one of the ones we did on camera. So that's a lighter one.
Yeah, you don't want to cover it.
Yeah, because you want to leave some semblance of the Dunkelgelb underneath.
Yeah.
Right. That's all you need to do. I'll do the back here as well. The nice thing about working with the acrylics is they dry very quickly. So this is like real time. This is maybe 10 minutes has passed, but everything's dry, and you can spray over it. And the nice part is that because the next step is the wash, the enamel wash, you can kind of move on to this fairly quickly. So you can really speed through this once you get going. This one has more mud on it. So you can see all it does is just kind of lightens the mud a bit, dries it out, as it were. Cuts it back. Let's see, is there a back on that? Do that. Again, you don't spend a lot of time on the I will call this like an A surface because you can see it. This is kind of like a B surface behind the scenes. You're not going to see it. And you can go a little bit heavier on some, a little bit lighter on others. And you can see, I don't know, like as I was picking this up, you can see the glitter on this. I don't know if you'll see it on the, but I see it here. So again, because this is matte, this will take care of all that for you. We're going to do the back on that. Do this guy next. And you're just giving it a light dusting, and see, you might go heavier on some, lighter on others. Alright, that's all you need to do. And this is the idler wheel, same thing. And then I'll do the back. Again, you're just kind of cutting back. And again, it's important to kind of think about, where your vehicle is situated, the time period, the battle it took place in, the terrain it was fighting in. Dave talked about that with his when we had him on for his Shermans. It's an important consideration. It adds a level of realism to the model, right? You got to kind of situate it. So I went very light on that last one. And it's nice because there are some hard streaks from the acrylic mud, and this kind of softens it a bit.
I also do like to add variation to some road wheels that I don't do the same as on all of them. Do you know what I mean? Like a little more splatter on one wheel, a little more.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got a little more interest. I said before, the success of a model is how long you hold the viewer's eye to it.
Yes.
You've got people looking at your model for like 20 minutes. You're succeeding. You get a pass over, but I'll be looking at it for a minute. Well, maybe you need to do more storytelling.
Yeah, exactly. Totally right. That's all, and that's what it is. That's the sign. You're doing something right if somebody's, I just show somebody's lingering on the model and looking at it. Somebody just kind of looks at it like that.
Yeah.
and they don't see anything, doesn't catch
yeah.
they're that says something.
Right. Add a colorful box like you do. Add a little, like I like those posters where you add a Signal magazine tucked in a cover.
Detail.
You know what I mean?
Like that half track I did.
Yeah.
I didn't do enough of that.
Right. Well, you could go back.
I could go back and do that. Exactly right. So again, just a bit. Just a hint. Because if you do too much, you lose.
True.
You lose the
cover.
previous.
Yes, you cover. I think one of the hardest things for me, and I admit, is I do all this modulation. And oh man, I'm covering it, and I got to go back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very easy to over cover it because the weathering will itself tone it down.
Yeah. And that's why I'm happy where the Tiger is, because you can it's very stark.
Yeah.
The modulation is very stark. It's very contrasty, and that's what you want. It's almost like it's uncomfortably contrasty.
Right.
And that's what you need. Because
I've learned from you.
Because it's going to tone everything down.
You have to have that contrast. Yeah.
And it's easy. It's easy to tone it down. It's a lot harder. Not impossible, but a lot harder to bring it.
You're very good. Yes,
right?
true. Very good. Yep.
So that's it. So that's all. So I just just a light dusting.
That's like 15 minutes.
Not even. Yeah, that's like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Doing this part. Let me just finish this little guy here again, just a little bit, just to kind of cut back the mud. And this will be the same thing we'll do on the vehicle itself. Maybe for the next session, I hope to get camo on it, and then I'll do one side of the vehicle, and then we'll do the other side on camera together.
This vehicle, did it have camo on the wheels?
No. No.
By the way, dumb question, did Tigers have camo on the wheels?
Yes, some did. Same thing with even like Panzer 3s and 4s. Some of the wheels were camo, some they weren't. So again, it's specific vehicles, right? Okay, so that's it for this. So we're done with the airbrushing. So I'm gonna salvage this. I'm gonna put this back in here.
By the way, while you're cleaning up, I've had a couple of questions of people because they know I like to build Japanese subjects. And the new Tiger that's out in Japanese markings, is it real? And I said, well, the way they presented it, it is not. The scheme is incorrect.
They went to go see it. They never brought it back.
Right.
Yeah.
You can see pictures of Japanese officers standing on them in the turret, but they never repainted them, and they were never in that color scheme. So
just what if?
Just to set the record straight. But it would be so cool, as I talked earlier.
Can you imagine if there was a Tiger on Tarawa?
Oh my! Yeah, whether they would get stuck in the sand or whatever, but that would be...
But having that gun.
Probably be the 88.
That would do some damage.
Well, like they said, what happens if the Germans had A6M2 Zeros at the Battle of Britain, right?
Yeah,
with the range. The range of...
Well, all you had to do was put a drop tank on the 109s. Guys, how hard? Come on. Yeah. Good thing they didn't. So that's it. So now we're gonna get to the wash part, which is simply. Actually, we can probably just keep rolling because it's a very easy setup. So I use again, a matter of convenience. I'll use the MIG 1008 dark wash and just some odorless thinner, and we can start mixing this up. And this is really kind of the last piece that we need to do. And what I'll do is I'll take some, get it into my dish. Don't need a lot. That's enough. And then we'll get some. I've got some enamel thinner. We'll use one of these pipettes. Don't need a lot. Close that up. Always close up your bottles because hands fly. Right?
Yes.
And then you get your brushes. And then you get your. We'll use this for the So we're going to do two things here. So we're going to do a wash, and then we're going to do some speckling. So pick this. So again, I just sprayed this, but because this is enamel and we were working with acrylics before, it's fairly safe. So what I'm just going to accentuate the bolt detail and maybe the hub detail on this. So I'm just going to wet this, just so that the wash carries a little bit better. And then you're just touching. It's a bit much. You have to go back and clean it up, but you're just touching the bolts. It's a bit heavy. You can go back, and that's the nice thing about this. You can go back and clean it up. And you have a lot more time with this than I have with the acrylic mud. And then let's see if we can just get some definition around the hub itself. Like so. There you go. And I'll just maybe clean that off a bit. And then you can also use it to, if you wanted to do some, like if I want to accentuate, maybe I want to accentuate some of the mud here. I can just add a bit of wash just to darken it. Like so. And I'm going to just do it on this part of the road wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That looks good.
Yeah. So we can set that aside and go on to the next one. So it's very simple. Like this is a very easy, simple process. And you know, for the age, like the detail is still pretty good.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Tamiya, you can't go wrong with Tamiya.
But think of it, when you put this on the table and people are looking at it, would they know it's not because you've applied your artistic skill? It doesn't matter if, do you know what I mean? The whole model then becomes the piece, not it's an older kit.
Well, it depends what to your point, it depends what you do with it. Yeah, and there's a lot of aftermarket on here, and so yeah, I think people will look at it and they would say, hey, this is like a Ryefield or
right.
The Border models or something, right? A Dragon kit.
Yep.
But no, it's the old Tamiya kit. I get why some people just build Tamiya. They are dependable. I might do the same thing here just to accentuate some of the mud down here. And then the wash is kind of spilling over onto the outside. So again, to Harvey's earlier point, you can use a wash to kind of recreate that definition of the separation between the road wheel and the rubber rim. And so we'll let that dry. We'll move on. So again, very, very quick. There's a lot of road wheels to work with, but doing this helps. Like it just speeds things along. So I'm just going to again create that definition. And you don't have to be terribly precise because there's a lot. I mean, it's a fairly organic environment, I guess I would say, because of all of the mud and weathering that's on it. So you don't have to be terribly precise, which is nice. And then here, I'm not going to do too much because this is one of the lighter. So this is probably all I'm going to do on this road wheel. So again, the previous layer of mud kind of creates a bit of a map for subsequent weathering applications. This one will go a little bit thicker because there's a bit more mud, especially on the hub. We'll create that definition. So you're just kind of touching the edge of it, and you're just letting capillary action kind of pull it around the detail. Let's do a little bit, I don't know, maybe I'll just darken. And with this, it'll always look more stark when it's wet. So as this dries out, this will lighten up significantly. This guy's gonna get some attention. Yeah, you know, as I was building the kit, I was really impressed with the detail for the vintage of the kit. And here you might want to. So here I'm gonna just create some additional streaks using the wash. You can kind of darken things out a bit, and then maybe go back and clean some of it up. And if you wanted to get, you know, you could get some oils and work oils into this too.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you can absolutely do that.
We've talked about this before, but I think you've reached the level of a craftsman when you know when to stop and when you know what's too heavy, what's too light, and there's no secret to that. It's your eye.
Yeah. It's experience. It comes from doing it. It comes from getting to that first 100 hours and then mastering it. You know.
I've overdone it. I've underdone it.
So practice. Like the greats in their fields, whether it's sports or business, the arts, whatever, they got great by just doing a lot of stuff, right?
You know, I
putting the sweat equity in.
I have seen some modelers, obviously we won't mention names, this is my own personal opinion. I think some of them are thinking, I must apply a wash, I must do dry brush, I must do a filter, I must do... To me, it's organic. You have to do every step, otherwise it looks too busy or it doesn't look natural. Like when you play a game of sports, you're not thinking about my right hand's going to do this, my left hand. You just do it. So
well, that's when you're at your best,
right?
When you think
when you think too much, it's like it doesn't come out right. And I've seen a couple of guys who they're really experienced modelers, and then they overthink it, and it looks too
paralysis by analysis.
Yes, paralysis by analysis. It doesn't look right. You don't have to add every weathering technique to a model.
No, like I'm working on another Stug offline.
Yeah.
And I completely forgot to apply a filter. But I look at it now.
Yeah.
Don't really need it. And like maybe I go over some panels just to create a bit of variation, but it doesn't really need it. So yeah, you're right. I just
don't overthink it.
And when you're not thinking and you're just doing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where again it all comes back to the experience. Because with the experience, your eye will learn what looks good.
That's it.
And
the eye tells you.
Yeah, and to your point, I think it's very pertinent. It's knowing when to stop.
Yeah, you can have a million techniques under your belt.
Like the journey there.
Yeah.
Is not. It's interesting, but it's the destination and knowing what the right destination is, right? And that just comes from experience. You just got to. You know. So if you're. You know, I know, you know, some of the shows I speak to some modelers and they're intimidated about, you know, because to your point, there's so much selection. Where do you start? How do you do it? Just start.
Yep.
Just
start.
Get up all the wash.
I've even had some very close aircraft guys who like they win every time, and one of them mentioned I am intimidated by weathering. I said, really, you? And said, yeah, show me the weathering techniques, Harvey. I says, well, you catch on. But I think they sometimes there's a formula that they enjoy, and it's pristine work and it works.
And you can start with the formula.
Absolutely, but then step it up, put a little mud on the wheels and work from there.
Yeah, what looks right.
I think sometimes it's a comfort level for some of these guys.
Yeah, and hey, believe me, I mean I wasn't like this. Like if I make this look easy.
Plus, you've been honing it right now. You know, I'm not going to show you a video of my figure painting. Not now. I will later. I'm getting there, but not quite. Not to my eye.
Just add just some streaks, just some interest. Right, but that's you don't have to do much more than that. think we're almost done. These ones, I think, I'm not sure which one is the outer surface, so we'll do both. But here there's a lot more bolt detail. So what we're doing here is we're just creating some, so this isn't like a grease stain. This is just creating accentuating the details, making them pop out a bit. We'll do grease stains as the last one, but you want to be sparing with that. Not every road wheel is going to have a grease stain on it.
That's what I mentioned before. Let's vary it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, vary it up.
And believe me, I love grease stains.
You do like grease stains, don't you?
I do.
I've seen you apply it to your models, and it works. It really works.
Or like a wet stain. Like there'll be a wet stain. Well, maybe not a wet stain because the terrain was very dry.
What is your thoughts on like water stain? Like a lot of guys, I'm thinking if it rains on a vehicle, have you ever tried that? Like after a rain-soaked eastern front, that's where you're using gloss. I mean, that would be interesting to, without making it look like glue stains.
And it's funny. Like you look at some pictures. And you see vehicles that have been like whitewashed.
Yeah.
Like the whitewash is very heavy-handed.
Yeah.
It looks horrible. Like if you replicated that on a model.
Yeah.
Like people might look at it and say, "Gee, like a child painted that."
I think it's better to go lighter. Less is best.
Yeah. So sometimes, and sometimes you see like rain marks, and the rain marks look very heavy-handed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it so it doesn't sometimes. Even though it's real and you see it on vehicles, it doesn't look...
No. I mean, part of the art of modeling is to accentuate some things artificially because of the scale, right?
Exactly.
I mean, really, even back to aircraft, can you see panel lines 72 feet away from an aircraft? You know what I mean? Like, there's always that debate. Well, I can't quite see them. We'll talk about I'm working on a Dyna, which we'll have in a future episode, where I'm going to show you how to build the vintage Airfix kit. And I actually sanded off all the panel lines, and I'll let you be the judge if that works or not, because let's see how it goes.
These are all raised panel lines, yeah?
Yeah, they were all raised. And I thought, well, why would I rescribe them? So let's try to just get them all off. Well, that'll be in an upcoming episode. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
So again, the secret here is just to be very light with the application. Vary it up. That's it. No, maybe we'll do these guys. There's a lot of detail here. So I'm going to wet this. I didn't wet all of them. But I'll wet this one because there's a lot of detail. The nice thing about Tigers is that there's generally a picture somewhere of the vehicle you're doing, or at least a picture of one in the same company or same unit. And don't forget to pay attention to the rear of it. Not that you'll see the rear of it really at all, but good practice. Like again, talking about if you're worried about damaging or wrecking the model, like there's great opportunities to do practice on a like the underside. I talk about doing the underside of the model, kind of the other side of some of the back side of the road wheels that are up against the hull. Nobody's going to see those, so you can practice on those. You can use those as practice surfaces. But this is the perfect type of thing to do with, maybe some music on or YouTube in the background. Game on.
Yeah, that's what I do. I watch YouTube when I model quite a bit.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
There's lots. Sometimes it'll just be music, and sometimes it'll be, historical documentaries or seminars. Like I'll watch Night Shift while I'm modeling.
Yeah.
Always something to learn there.
Like we're hoping that our videos can be that type of companion for you when you model. Like we're not, we as you can see, our videos, while Robert edits here and there, our gab and our conversation is not rehearsed.
No, it's all, yeah.
It's all, we try to do our best just to keep rolling.
I mean, we might have some speaking points that we want to ensure we get across, but beyond that.
Yeah. But we don't tend to, let's take this speaking segment out, or let's reshoot. In fact, Dave, I don't think we've ever reshot a speaking session. We just, let's go, and we go, and we'll just do it right there. The only editing is where we'll insert that segment. So a lot of it is gab, but I have heard from our viewers that they like the gab, so we're hoping that you enjoy our gab.
Gabbing's good. I like gab. I'm going to talk about this stuff all day.
Yeah. Dave, you have too many models. I'm looking at you have too many. Too many.
Yeah, I know.
Like, that's your problem. You have too many.
But you always want more.
I only have 5.
No, you don't. You're a liar.
I had a couple of zeros after that. I meant like number zeros, not E6 and 2 zeros.
Oh,
although I
see.
have quite a few zeros.
You probably have as many zeros as I have tigers.
Yeah, yes. But I do all scales, so that's my problem.
That's good though.
Yeah.
Because I think going up and down the scales, as it were.
Yeah.
A little bit more wash here. Makes you a better modeler.
It does. Although my focus, as people know, is Italian and Japanese, I really got to venture into figures. People ask me about RAF. I have no idea the colors of a Spitfire. Isn't that bad? Right? No idea.
Well, there is something to be said about specializing.
Yeah.
Like Jerry specializes in Battle Britain.
Yes.
One of mine, right? And so.
And as you may recall, when I had built the 132nd Mustang for General Romer, I needed a lot of help.
Yeah, not a topic you were.
No, but then I got a lot of help from the pilot too. So I was grateful for that. For General's confidence.
From the horse's mouth, as it were.
Right from the pilot horse's mouth. Yes.
Doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, that's the other thing about references, right? When I interviewed General Romer about the Mustang, he was adamant several times in the interview that there was D-Day wing markings, ID markings around the whole wing. Yet when you look on web and some discussion groups, the guys are saying, nope, that squadron never had them. Well, he told me that his aircraft was never photographed nor filmed. But he said, nope, clear as day, they surrounded the whole wings. So I heard it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and that's what I did. A photo or talk to the pilot if they are still around.
Photo's the best.
Yeah.
Undisputable.
Yep.
So I'm not going to spend, so you can see I'm kind of rushing through this, but because you're not going to see really a lot of this or any of it. And we'll wrap up. Now the next thing we'll do is we'll do some speckling. So let's actually I don't want to use it. I want to use a different tissue because this one's messy. So what I like to do is let's take this guy. So I'll load up, and maybe I'll use a bigger brush. wash. And then I'll kind of practice. Perfect. And then what I do is I just take the toothpick, a brush loaded with the wash, and then that's it.
That's it?
That's all you're going to do on this one. And you might not speckle every single one.
Yes, right. Have some variation.
Yeah, like this one I might speckle.
Yeah.
Oops.
Variation is good.
Variation is good. Alright, that's done. And maybe this guy. And then, like for example, maybe I went overboard on a couple of these guys. You can just clean them up. And we can go back. There we go, perfect. This guy here. Right, this guy up here. And it just adds a little bit of visual interest. And this guy here. Let's do this drive sprocket. No speck, no chip is too small. There we go.
That's good.
And that's it. And the last thing for today is we'll do a grease stain. So what I like to use is I use this fresh engine oil, which is just really a glossy product.
The oil brusher.
Yeah.
I love those products, by the way.
Yeah, they're convenient.
Yeah, they are.
So I'll just...
They have a good shelf life, too, I noticed.
Yeah. So this is just kind of like tinted gloss, I guess, more than anything. So you can make your own. I mean, you can all of this stuff you can do on your own. So if I want to do, let's pick this guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the area, and the only reason I'm doing that is just to improve the flow. And then I'll pick up some of this and just create a bit of a grease stain here. And then if you want to draw it out, now let's say some of that grease makes its way to the edge of the road wheel. I might clean up the streak a bit. Go back and get some more. And that's it. Let's clean that up. And you can see it very subtle, but a nice little, and you don't want to get something too, because if it's too much, it's but very subtle.
Yep.
And this will dry glossy, so it'll have a different, different patina to it, as it were. And that's it.
There you go.
So very simple, very quick, and you can get some really nice, realistic looking road wheels. And again, the Tiger has a lot of them, but you can use these on Panzer IIIs, you can use these on Shermans, same type of thing. Okay, now the last thing to do is just there are exposed rims on the road wheel that would have some wear and tear, so that they would be kind of scraped down to the bare metal. So all I do is I just take an old pencil and I just catch the rim like so, and that's it. got some on the rubber part, so you rub that off with your finger. But you can see, and it doesn't, and you don't want to be too stark about it, because like if I painted it in bright silver, it just, I don't want to look right. It'd be too much. And then you have a slightly thicker exposed rim on the back. So I'll do this.
Have you tried the powders that they have lead powders out now by EK? I mean, that's essentially pencil.
It is. It's the same. But I find the nice thing about using a pencil is this is the applicator as well.
Right.
Right. But yes, you could use.
You could use those powders. Yeah.
Now again, this is you won't see this surface, so it's a great one to practice on. So you're asking, if you're not going to see it, well, why do it? Well, yeah, there might be a point there.
The other thing that I usually
great
do
to practice
is
on.
when you put the road wheels on, make sure that where the wheels contact the tracks, you want a bit of right. You're not gonna keep it a little more cleaner.
And then what I do is I'll take a Q-tip and just buff it. No, I didn't buff the other one because it's a very narrow. This is a little bit wider.
Just a note on Q-tips. For our a Canadian, American audience, or even Europe, Q-tips are now made. The shaft is made from paper or wood now. If you have the older Q-tips that are made of plastic, I was talking to John Wong about this. He gave me this tip.
Oh, they're
Save
hollow.
those. Yeah. They're hollow.
Yeah,
so when you stretch them, like over a candle, guess what? They are terrific pitot tubes. So don't throw them out, and keep those, because they don't make them anymore.
Now sometimes, so the problem with the regular Q-tips is that they
fluff out or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll use these I got at a Japanese market.
Omomo.
Momo, right? Or Momo?
Yeah, Omomo.
Omomo. So I use these. So these are very tight, but it's the same type of quality you can get like buying the Tamiya.
But they're tighter, right?
They're very tight. So they're good for
whatever. The cotton is tighter.
Yeah, they're good for the other surface. So again, you can just buff it out, just to get more of a sheen on it.
Do you do what I do? I go into like hardware stores, beauty salons, looking for stuff for models. I don't know what I'm looking for, but I'll know when I find it.
Yes, exactly.
Best place to get things like drill bits is jewelry stores, like jewelers' files, pin vices.
Yeah.
The best pin vise I have is a micro one that I got off a watchmaker. I bought it off him.
Yeah.
John Wong has one too.
Yeah. Good point. They're very fine tools, right?
And get those dental bits from your dentist. Because they'll just toss them.
Yeah.
They'll sterilize them and they'll give you the dental bits.
Yeah.
They'll cut through plastic.
They're perfect for that. So that's it. So just so you kind of do the same thing with all of the other road wheels, but it's you can see it's a very quick, easy way of getting some good weathering, and they look great, and that's something that's going to hold the eye on the model, right? So for next time, I'll continue working on this off camera. I'll do the green camo, and then we'll start doing the weathering process. We'll do that together.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, that's it for today. Thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks, Harvey.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see everybody next time around. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.